Worried about your drinking? Reserve your place on today's free Quit Drinking webinar and get a copy of my best-selling book, Alcohol Lied to Me, as a gift just for turning up. www.stopdrinkingexpert.com. Hey, how you doing? This is Craig Beck, aka the Stop Drinking Expert. Welcome into another episode of the Happy Sober podcast, where we talk about quitting drinking and, perhaps more importantly, staying sober. Thank you to my good friend Philip, who sent me an email today with another ridiculous news story being propagated by big alcohol, by the alcohol industry. We're going to talk about that today and how the game is stacked against you. If you've ever been on holiday to like a holiday resort and you see these people playing like card games in the street and it appears that everyone's winning and then they invite you to play, you know that this is a scam, right? You know that all the people who've just won are friends of the person playing the game. It is a very famous technique to scam money out of holidaymakers. Let me tell you, the alcohol industry is playing the exact same game. The game is rigged, and the only way not to lose is to not play the game. All right, that's what we're talking about today. I just want to tell you about a new product at my website, craigbeck.com, not related to alcohol, but I just sort of flag it up for you so you know about it. I've teamed up with my friend Mark Keane, who's an expert in internet dating. And obviously, my big thing is psychology and the psychology of people, why people do what they do, what makes people tick, and especially the psychology of attraction. So if you are using internet dating and you're feeling pretty frustrated with it, as most people seem to be, we have a new book which you can get for free at the website. Go to craigbeck.com or rightswiper.com, enter your details, and you can get a free copy of that book if you're interested. All right. So let's talk about this news story that that Philip has sent me. And the headline is, "Non-alcoholic beer is a breeding ground for bacteria. Oh no, it's dangerous when you take the alcohol out of it." And isn't it funny that this news story, this big headline news story, is being featured on a website called The Drinks Business? Talk about living in an echo chamber. Talk about confirmation bias and only wanting to hear what you currently believe to be true. This article sums it up perfectly. And this is basically saying, because you've taken the alcohol out of the beer, germs can now survive in it. And this is a complete throwback to, if you go back to the Middle Ages, we as a species, we used to drink alcohol for breakfast, lunch, dinner. We used to drink it all the day through. Why? Because the water was so dirty, the water was so impure and dangerous to drink, it was safer to drink mead or beer because of the alcohol that would kill the bugs in the water. And that's why we used to consume so much beer. Now, don't be thinking, well, how come we can't get away with it today when we could then? We couldn't then either. I mean, look, the average age, being like 38, 39 years old back then would be like being considered to be decrepit. It would be rare for you to get to like my age of 49. That would be just crazy old back in the day. So don't go thinking, if it was good enough for them back then, it's good enough for me now. It's not the case. It's just that the water was so dangerous back then. Beer and mead and cider was a better option. But this, this is really clutching at straws. You could say it about any beverage. If you don't look after it properly, if you don't keep it chilled once it's open, if you expose it to the elements, it's going to go bad. It's going to get bacteria. It's going to attract insects. But to make a sensational headline here that non-alcoholic beer is a breeding ground for bacteria is just disingenuous and is just indicative of the mentality of the alcohol industry. This is an industry that creates a product that kills its users. It is no different than big tobacco. Big tobacco in the 70s and 80s was involved in lots of court cases, and they knowingly lied to the court. They knew that their product was killing its customers, and yet they knowingly denied it and lied about it for as long as they could, until they eventually couldn't get away with it anymore. And this is exactly the same thing that is happening with the alcohol industry. And they are continuing to peddle this nonsense on social media that gets liked and shared by problem drinkers. We've talked about this before, but it's something to watch out for. Take a look at your Facebook feed, your X feed, your Instagram. You will find that stories that sensationalize the benefits of drinking get liked and shared aggressively. You will see stories about how red wine is good for your heart get peddled all over the place. And yet the stories how, alcohol is a known carcinogenic and causes 7 major forms of cancer get very little traction. Well, why is that? And the answer is, it's that social proof thing. It's that safety in numbers thing that us drinkers like. We like confirmation bias. We like to see evidence that supports our behavior because that is the path of least resistance. We've talked about this many times before, that human behavior comes down to just 2 things. We like to think that we're all big and clever and complicated as a species. We're not. We're just shaved monkeys, really. We're just intelligent monkeys. And we're motivated by 2 primary factors: the need to avoid pain and gain pleasure. And we'll always take the path of least resistance. So if you're in pain psychologically because you're worrying about your drinking, you've got a choice there, haven't you? You can stop drinking and the pain goes away, or you can change the narrative that what you're doing isn't bad. That means you can carry on drinking and the pain goes away. And guess what? We default to do all the time. That's the easy one. We don't have to give up the thing that we love. We can just change the story, change the world we live in so that we can fool ourselves into believing that what we're doing isn't suicidal. And these stories that are peddled by the alcohol industry via their PR departments are designed to do exactly that. And you'll see them come out at specific times of year. Around Christmas, you're going to see stories about brandy and whiskey and all those kind of seasonal drinks, and how brandy protects you against heart attack and gin is a slimming agent. And if you drink whiskey, you won't have a stroke. It's just complete and utter lies peddled with very clever use of words. They won't directly say it. They'll suggest that a research project has discovered there is a possibility that whiskey protects you from heart disease. Well, yeah, okay. There's a possibility of anything, but it doesn't mean it's likely, does it? But they take that little smidgen of possible and turn it into fact that then gets twisted and Chinese whispered until it becomes this story on social media that everyone reads and goes, oh, look, I'm going to have a healthy glass of whiskey because it protects you against heart disease. It's bullshit. But we don't care that it's bullshit because it supports our confirmation bias. And it helps us get that social proof and that safety in numbers that problem drinkers love to have. So, look, I just want you to, walk around with your eyes open on this one. If you see these stories on social media, have a look at what they're saying, have a look at the article, see if actually what they're saying is true, and just notice the comments. Just notice how people tag each other in it. Notice how people like and share it. If I put 2 stories up on Facebook, one saying that red wine is good for your heart and another saying that red grape juice is good for your heart, guess which one gets liked and shared 100 times more than the other? That is the mentality of the world, and the alcohol industry is playing on it. It knows what people are like. It spends billions of dollars on psychologists and, expert marketers to play on these human emotions to push us deeper down into the rabbit hole. Eyes open and be awake to what is going on. There is no benefit to drinking diluted poison. It is impossible. It doesn't make any sense. And the alcohol industry will continue to defend the indefensible. Your job now is to realize what they're doing. Knowledge is power, and be aware of it. Thanks so much for being with me. If you're worried about your drinking, you know what to do. Take action. Don't sit on the fence a moment longer. As they say, the best time to have quit drinking was 10 years ago. The next best time is right now. So go to the website, stopdrinkingexpert.com. Thanks a lot. Worried about your drinking? Reserve your place on today's free Quit Drinking webinar and get a copy of my best-selling book, Alcohol Lied to Me, as a gift just for turning up. www.stopdrinkingexpert.com.